Welcome to the Let's Go Guided podcast, where we bring you inside the world of guided hunting through real conversations with outfitters. All right, guys, welcome back to the Let's Go Guided podcast. I'm super stoked tonight to have none other than Mr. Jay Nichol from Mindful Hunter Outfitting on with us today. Everybody likely knows Jay already, but Jay, for the people that don't know you, maybe give us a little background about yourself, how you got into hunting, how Mindful Hunter got going, and yeah, we'll start there.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I know what it's like to get a podcast off the ground, so I was very excited to be asked to come on. So, I will give like the 10,000-foot overview. So I am a classic adult late onset hunter. So I did a little bit of hunting when I was a kid, went on a couple moose hunts with my dad, killed a couple partridge, and then was completely out of hunting for years. And in my early 30s, I'd already been working in forestry for 10 years. And I got back into hunting and kind of discovered backcountry hunting. And without getting in too many details, I'm a recovering junkie. And when I discovered hunting in the backcountry, it filled a hole in my life. I felt like it gave me a sense of purpose, and it gave me a place where I felt like I belonged. And so for anybody who knows me, I don't do a whole lot half-ass, and I kind of went a bit insane about backcountry hunting. And I've had a couple different careers over my life. You know, my longest career was probably as a forestry engineer, and then after that, I was a business consultant for 8 years, focusing on behavioral strategy for corporations. And I got so obsessed with hunting that I was like, I have to figure out a way to do more of this and to have this be a bigger part of my life. I originally started making content. Quick story. I was doing an executive MBA program at SFU, and I killed my first backcountry deer. And it wasn't even like, I was like a 5-hour hike off of a road in a mountain, less than an hour and a half from Chilliwack. But you don't have to go 20 hours north to have backcountry experiences in British Columbia. And this was like hiked rugged through the mountains, called in a deer, killed it, processed it, put it in my backpack, hiked out. It was like a 16-hour day, pouring rain. And it was like this pivotal experience in my life. And I remember going to the MBA the very next day and trying to communicate to people the intensity of that experience, and failed utterly. And I'm a fairly articulate individual. And I thought to myself, if I can't communicate this verbally, there's a problem. It's not just me. And at the time, Solo Hunter with Tim Burnett and Remy Warren was really big. And I was watching that and I'm like, this is what I got to do. This is the medium. Like I was like, these guys are communicating like the depth and the intensity of these experiences. And so, yeah, I think I went and cashed out like 10 grand worth of RRSPs and like bought camera gear and started filming my hunts. And it's been a very long, twisty road and starts and stops and all kinds of things. And that's where Mindful Hunter began. That was almost 10 years ago. And now I have an apparel line where I focus on technical clothing. I have an outfitting company. I have a decent podcast and YouTube channel, and I have a subscription website where people have a big forum and people belong, and I give gear away and we talk about gear and stuff. But I think most people probably know me from my technical gear reviews. I think that's really where I kind of found my niche. And people are always asking me when it comes to like content creation or entrepreneurial paths, like what to do. And my question is always, you need to be able to answer how you can deliver unique value in a way that no one else can. And I think of all the stuff I do, I think that was the first time that I sat back and I looked around the landscape, and I could honestly say, I don't think anybody else is doing this like I know I can do it. And given the state of like sponsorship and influencing and all these people that just get paid to market crap product, I also felt very driven to do that. And so now I'm in a place, I'm 47 years old. I spent 140 days in the field last year. All I do is hunt and talk about hunting and review gear, and yeah, my life revolves around hunting now. So I'm a very fortunate individual.
Living it, man. I love it. Run us through when outfitting kind of came on the radar for you.
Yeah, yeah, really interesting question. So it was guiding first. My buddy Jeff Lander, who owns Primitive Outfitting, asked me to guide for him. And I was trying to figure out a way at the time to spend more time hunting. And he asked me to do some guiding for him. And I've had other passions that I tried to turn into jobs. Like I was a snowboard instructor when I was at university, and it always ended up in me not wanting to do the activity as a passion anymore because I would just
Mm,
get burnt out of it.
yeah.
And so there was this big piece of me that I was like, I'll do this, but I don't know if I wanted. I don't. I'm remaining open to the possibility that I'm not going to want to do this because it's going to wreck hunting for me. And I had a completely opposite experience. I actually found it in some ways more rewarding than hunting myself. And oddly enough, I find it less stressful. I think because content creation has always been such a big part of my hunting career, I find it very difficult to like let go and be present. I'm always that secondary observer when I'm on a hunt. Like I'm always thinking like, oh, what's this film going to look like? Or what piece of content should I be capturing? And everybody always knows that I'm on a hunt. Are they going to ask when I get back and I'm going to be successful or not? And I work very hard to like draw boundaries around that so I can be present and appreciate it. But I find it very challenging. Guiding is completely different for me. For some reason, because it's the client's hunt and not mine, none of that stuff exists. For the most part, I don't shoot content. I I know I'm good at hunting, and it's funny that when it comes to my own hunting, I almost have a bit of a not imposter syndrome, but a little bit. Like I feel like I still don't have, and I'm going to talk about two different phases of my career because pre 2025, pre last year is like, let's say like the teenage years of Jay as a hunter.
Yep.
After last year, I'm more like young adult phase. So a lot of what I'm about to say would be true before last year, not so true anymore. But I didn't feel confident in myself for myself. But when I was guiding other people, I knew what I knew. I knew that I knew what I was doing. And that if these people just did what I told them to do, we would be successful. And then it would happen time and time again. Because that's the other thing you get to experience guiding. Like most people are going to go hunting, what, maybe 2, 3 times a year if they're lucky, maybe kill one or two animals. When you're guiding, you keep going out again and again and again. And when you have a season where you go out a dozen times and you kill a dozen animals, even the most insecure brain can't help but say, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like, this is not luck. This is not a fluke. I've had to keep going back to the same places and figuring these animals out. And you start taking credit for the success that you're having. So, anyways, fell in love with guiding. And then there was an opportunity to pick up a couple tags in Alberta. I'll give a little overview of how concessions work and the differences between Alberta and BC because it's fairly important to understand. So in British Columbia, basically the entire province is split up into concessions. And when you own a concession, you have exclusive guiding rights to all the animals within that concession. And for over-the-counter animals, or GOS, general open season animals, as we call them here in BC, there are no limits for outfitters. It's kind of up to your own discretion. People are still withheld to the individual bag limits, but like bear is open in my territory. If I wanted to book 100 people this year to come and hunt bears, there's no legal reason why I couldn't do that. I would argue there's an ethical reason why I shouldn't do that, but there's no legal limit.
Okay.
And then for your limited entry animals, like I have 8 goat tags every 5 years in my area, which means I'm allowed to kill 8 goats every 5 years. But no one else can guide in your territory. And so it gives you the ability to manage that territory and manage the experiences of the hunt in a way that you're not allowed to do in a lot of other places in North America. I think it's the best way to manage guiding because Some people would say it's a little bit like closed off and protectionistic, but I think it provides a much better client experience because you don't have guides hopping on top of each other. In Alberta, what you do is you buy tags. So right now I own 4 mule deer tags and 2 whitetail tags in Alberta. So every year I get those 6 tags again. Every year I can sell 6 hunts, but they're only good in one unit and they're only good for one season. And there's other outfitters who have the exact same tags as me. So we might bump into each other. And then there's different outfitters who have rifle tags that come after mine.
Okay.
The nice thing about Alberta is that the barrier to entry is much lower. Like realistically in British Columbia, you're not getting a decent territory for under 500,000. And if you want something that's got like elk or sheep or goats, you're like 1, 2, 3 million and significantly more, depending on how many tags that unit has. You can go pick up some black bear tags in Alberta for like 10, 15 grand, and you can be outfitting tomorrow if you can sell the hunts. And so it was a great way for me to test the waters because the financial investment wasn't uh, a barrier to entry. So, anyways, got these tags in Alberta, and right around the same time, the ability to I was introduced to this guy, and he was willing to lease me some black bear tags. And long story short, I started advertising those. A bunch of people started getting interested. And then I was able to find the territory that I now own in British Columbia. And so I bought a big territory in British Columbia where I've got bear, deer, goat, all kinds of stuff. Um, but I think from a business perspective, the kind of pivotal moments was the ability to buy those cheap tags in Alberta because it was a low risk investment.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it is a bit of a you could sell those again. Like if you didn't sell any hunts in 2 or 3 years, you could put them back up in the market. Maybe you take a bit of a haircut, but you're not going to lose your shirt. And the second one was the ability to lease those tags in BC because that allowed me to test the market to see if my audience was going to want to book hunts with me again as a low risk test, right? Like it's almost like the MVP, the minimum viable product version of outfitting where I didn't have to go raise $3 million to buy this huge territory just to find out that nobody wanted to come outfitting with me. Last year was my first full-time year outfitting. I outfitted in Alberta and BC, and then I'm coming up on my second full year, and I think I have 32 clients booked across BC and Alberta for this coming year. So I'm really excited. I feel like last year I had a lot of anxiety, and I still do to a certain degree, which I actually like. I think anxiety keeps me sharp.
Mhm.
But it's not the same crippling. Like I don't have the same negativity around the anxiety. It's just like it's more of an excitement about the opportunity to work with these people and provide them experiences. And I feel like after the success we had last year, I'm confident we're going to deliver again this year. But yeah, that's essentially how I got into outfitting.
Love it. And for guys that haven't had the opportunity to hunt BC, your outfit from kind of what you said before, what I understand, it's in a pretty special spot at BC. Like it sounds
Yeah.
gorgeous. Can you explain kind of what guys experience from landing in Vancouver, which itself, if you've never been, is a absolutely gorgeous place to come in on a plane. You know, you've got mountains, ocean, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. From there, what's it look like for the guys or
Yeah, and
girls?
I'll give some more context too, because there's another layer to this, like why I got into outfitting. So
Mm,
if we go back a little bit and I shared about, recovery and why I got into outfitting, a big piece of it was that I kind of discovered myself as a man and felt more okay with myself as a man through my time in the backcountry. And if I go back and look at all the content I've created and still the drive behind why I create content, it has a lot to do with helping other men have these experiences because it's
mm,
something I think I got like a natural gift to help facilitate. And I would have these guys reach out and they would want to have hunting experiences, but in British Columbia, you cannot hunt without a guide unless you're a resident.
Yep.
And so the final piece of the puzzle to the mindful hunter ecosystem, if the whole purpose of mindful hunter is to expose modern men to the potential of connecting with something a little more primal within themselves in the backcountry. And we do that through gear reviews and clothing and education and content. The last piece was an actual physical experience.
Mm.
And I was looking around at all these seminars and weekend getaways that other people were doing. And I was like, this is all great, but nobody's actually hunting. They would go do them in July and August, and it was like they'd go do a elk calling thing, but there was no elk, and they would do a bear killing thing, but there was no bears. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. If I could take all that stuff, but then bring it into a live hunt experience, that to me is the last missing piece of the puzzle. And so from like a what's your why perspective, that was the driving force behind mindful hunter outfitting. And so that was another reason why where I bought was so important, because not every place is going to have the ability. Like, I would argue my hunts in Alberta are awesome, but they're for guys who really like big mule deer, for starters, which is great. I love big mule deer. I have no problem.
Yeah.
But they're not like a backcountry experience. You're not in like isolated wilderness. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have that awe-inspiring impact that my territory in BC does. So, yeah, we land at the airport. I always pick my guys up. Luckily, I'm within like a 3 or 4 hour drive, and I think most people underestimate how easy it is to have an isolated wilderness experience within a few hours of the lower mainland. Like, it's soon as you get 2 miles off of a log, not even half a mile off of a logging road, you can be in the most insane alpine, rugged territory, elevated alpine lakes. Like, it is just like, go look on a map and look at all as soon as you get a little bit north of Vancouver, from Vancouver to Whistler to Kamloops over to Kelowna, it's just this big circle of nothing.
Yeah.
That you can have these really intense wilderness experiences in. So yeah, my area is 3,000 square kilometers. And there's definitely an established, logging road system throughout it, which is nice. Just for logistics, but it also provides the opportunity to have these, yeah, for lack of a better word, these isolated wilderness experiences that you don't have to drive, 20 hours north in order to have. And it's like, I love picking the guys up from the States, because as soon as you leave the lower mainland and start driving up the Fraser Canyon, like, you just, they look around and this sense of like anxiety almost sets in, and they're like, where are we going to be hunting bears? And I'm like, oh, you're looking at it, bro. And their minds just kind of start melting, because they're looking at these steep faces, this thick timber, and their brains can't compute how we're going to get in there and get it done. And then the whole next week is just about breaking that down, making them feel comfortable, getting out there, getting after it. And then by the end, it's almost just another day at work for them. And that's like a very cool experience to watch people go through.
Yeah, no kidding. So who's gonna do really good on your hunts, and who's gonna maybe struggle just a little bit? Like, who are your BC hunts? Because I think you covered the Alberta mule deer ones good. Like, I've got that. That's maybe you can bring dad along on those ones, and that's going to be
Yep.
easy for him and that sort of thing. But who's going to have the best time with you out
It
in
was really
BC chasing
funny.
what you got?
I was having a phone call with a guy who booked a bear hunt for this year, and he asked a question. And the question he said was, what's the most important thing I need to worry about or bring on this hunt? And I knew what he meant was, what's the most important piece of gear?
Sure.
Because that's what everybody wants to know. And I'm telling you right now, the gear doesn't mean shit. A tent is not sending you home. Bad boots are not sending you home. It's all between the ears. That's what's going to send you home. And the more I thought about it, and it's kind of a counterintuitive answer because it's not the typical like killers kill mentality that I would normally present. But I said, the most important thing and the people who have the best time and are the most successful coming to hunt with me are the people who can straddle being committed and disciplined and focused on success while still having an element of chill. And I think we go through this evolution as a hunter. And when you first hunt, I think there's a lot of chill because you don't know what else to do. And you're just happy to be out there. And everybody
Doing
tells
any
you
and
to just
anything. Yeah.
go out and have a good time and you're having these experiences. And then
Yeah.
after 2 or 3 years when nothing's died, you're like, okay, I'm glad I'm having all these experiences, but like I'm hunting, I'm not camping. There should be dead shit coming home with me.
Mhm.
Then we slip into like phase one killers kill mentality, where it's like, I'm gonna train all year, I'm gonna be successful or I'm gonna die. And then there's this like adolescence, this psychological adolescence of hunting where you kind of lose yourself for a while because you're so focused on killing that you lose all that other beautiful stuff that you had at the beginning. And when you come out the other side of that adolescence, and if you look at old dudes that just kill shit all the time, they have this very like Taoist perspective to it. You know, like that which you chase runs away. And so that's what I'm trying to not only promote within myself, but share with the people who come in hunting. It's a bit like, what do you call them? Koans or those Zen sayings that are like kind of nonsense, but you contemplating the saying is what actually teaches you. Because it is this paradox. Like, how can I be perfectly disciplined and committed towards achieving a goal while also being okay if I don't achieve that goal? Because it's the being okay with not achieving it that's actually going to let you achieve it. Because when you're able to sink into the environment and just go with the flow while still being focused and determined, that's what changed for me in 2025. Like I hit this, it was almost like a flow state of hunting. And I just came to this realization that if I just get up and go to work every day, put my boots on, make a coffee, go to the woods, do what I need to do all day and come home and just get up and do that every single day, shit just dies. It's like chill out, man. Still work hard, but don't, it's like when you fill yourself with stress, it's not this woo woo thing. You make bad decisions. Like stress does not lead to making good decisions. You behave differently when you are calm and confident. The problem is, until you've killed a pile of stuff, it's really hard to pretend that you're calm and confident when you're not. So it is a bit of a paradox that I'm asking people to do. But I think that's where the guiding thing comes in. And so to bring this all the way back, the people who are the most successful are not the people who you would think are the most successful. The guys who are the legit killers sometimes have problems. Because again, if everything isn't going their way right away,
Mm.
or if the first couple spots I check aren't producing right away, those guys will get kind of like stressy, and then that creates a bit of friction on the hunt. Where those guys who are in the middle, who are like, they're just excited to be there. They live in Minneapolis or something, or they're like, a power line technician and they work 300 days out of the year. And they're like, dude, I don't give a shit, man. I'm in BC. We're looking for bears. We got good food every night. Like they're just having a blast. They're excited to be there. Those are the guys who crush it because it's that attitude. It's committed and disciplined while still being easygoing enough to enjoy it and just roll with the punches. Some days are going to suck. Some days are going to be great. And fixating on the failures or fixating on the things that aren't going perfectly is not going to help you be more successful.
So share with me, if you don't mind, a story of a client this year
Yeah.
that took that attitude of, man, we're here, we're having fun, and it just clicked for them.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I got to think back to who we actually had. Come on. Oh, you know what? I got a great story. And this is actually a BC resident. This is important for your listeners too. If you are a BC resident, do not be offended if you phone an outfitter and they decline to take you. It is very, very common that BC outfitters do not take BC residents, and it's only because they've been burned. Because you can go back and hunt their areas over the counter, and they don't want to take you and show you their spots, and then you come back next year with all their buddies and you blow out their spots. And so lots of guys will just hang up the phone with you. And that's actually, I have to have that conversation with guys, and I have taken BC hunters, and there are exceptions when I do, but I'm very clear with them. Like, this is where I make my living.
Mhm.
And so if we go here, you do not come back into my area. I will help you e-scout your own area. We'll hop on Zoom. I'll help you figure shit out. But out of respect, if I'm taking you into my area, if I see you in here again, we're going to have a problem because that's very disrespectful. And so far, it's worked out very well for me. But this guy that I'm thinking of, he was he's a BC resident. Again, I would call him like an intermediate hunter. He's killed. That's the other thing that surprises me. I thought I would have more guys that have never killed anything. And it's like more often that I get guys that have killed a handful of things, but there's something about their hunting experience that they're just not satisfied with yet. And this guy's thing was he couldn't sleep alone in the woods. So on 3 separate occasions, he packed up, hiked in, got to where he was going, set up his camp, made it till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, got back up, packed everything up, and hiked back to the truck.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's just like, I can't do it, man. And the amount of phone calls I get from guys like that and DMs of guys like, how do you sleep alone in the woods? I have to remind myself that there was a point when it freaked me out as well. So this guy, that was his big thing. That was his whole reason. He's like, I want to go and spike out for a couple nights so I can get over the hump. So I was like, okay, no problem, done. So we go spike out. I think it was on the second night. Yeah, it was on a Tuesday. We're hiking through this big cut block system, and it's been a pretty slow week. And we turn around and like 900 yards away, there's a bear, and a really nice bear. And so we're like, okay, game on. We sprint through these cut blocks. I swear to God, both of us were going to break our legs. And we get all the way down there. We can't see the bear. And this was a huge learning opportunity for me as a guide as well. So we're kind of coming up to a junction in this road. There's really big willows. We can't see anything. And just because the bear wasn't immediately visible, we both checked out. And we were just like, oh, bear's gone. And so I'd kind of kicked out of like hypervigilant guide mode, and he'd kicked out of killer mode.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally come around the corner and boom, 20 yards away, there's this bear. So he lifts his gun. I got my ears plugged and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And the bear runs away. And I'm like, what? And I look over at him and he's looking down like this. And he looks at me and he goes, I forgot to take the safety off. And I was just like,
shit.
Oh my God. And it was funny because I'd never had a client do that before. And now clients might even get pissed off at me, but I have a very strict regiment when we are entering like kill situations. I have the same 3 or 4 things that I tell them every time. Like, depending on how close we are, I want to know what the magnification of your scope is at. I want to know if you got one in the chamber. I want to know if your safety is on. Because I've seen this happen to guys repeatedly now. Like, the same short circuits happen every time.
Yep.
And this was a beautiful bear. I did go back in and kill him again the following week with a different client. But he got pretty down on himself.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yep. And not uncommon. And I remember hearing an athlete talk about this. I can't remember what tennis player it was, but he'd gone back and calculated that he had only won 54% of the potential points in all of his matches. He's one of the best tennis players in the world, but he still lost 46% of the potential points. And he was giving this speech and he's like, What do you think would happen if I beat the shit out of myself every single time I lost one of those points?
Hmm.
I wouldn't have gone on to win the 54% that I did. And you only have to win 54% in order to still be one of the world's greatest. So that's another thing that I focus on with hunters, because like a little bit of a uh not transgression, a bit of a digression. I had two hunters come to Alberta last year. A guy missed a deer on day one at 60 yards. We sat on this deer for 2.5 hours. He ranged him like 300 times. Deer got up, walked 5 yards, and he didn't account for that.
Oh, and at that distance with a bow, that's a big
Everything.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And never got over it. In fact, he went home 2 days early.
Oh no.
We hunted another 3 days, and I could look at him. I'm like, oh, you're done. And this is what I'm talking about. That was a guy who was in the adolescence in the middle.
Mm.
Like he thinks there's this nobility about being so hyper focused on the kill. And it's like, you lost it, bro. Like the whole, like, I get it. Take a moment, hold yourself to a higher standard, but you need to be able to recover and move on. And that was it. His hunt was done. He never came back out of that for the rest of the hunt. So this guy in BC who I'm talking about, we lost the next day. Like as soon as we woke up the next day, I was like, oh, he's grumpy. Starts second guessing coming on a guided hunt. Oh, I could go home and kill bears. Like he was definitely like, and I'm like, okay, let's work through this. I get it. And then we got back to camp that night and we kind of had to like mentally reset. And like, that's what's great about bear camp. You got the fire going. We're cooking some burgers. It's not the most stressful of hunts. So we're like sitting up 11, 12 o'clock at night. We're going to sleep in the morning. Bears don't wake up early anyways. And we're like, we can tell we're in a funk. He was one of my first clients, so I'm pissed we didn't kill this big bear. He's pissed he didn't, it's on him. He kind of feels like he let me down. And we had this big conversation. And I was like, okay, we're done. Tomorrow is a new day. We're getting back into this mindset of like, why are we here? You came here for a particular type of experience, which we've already achieved. We went and had our 2 or 3 nights in the backcountry. You're already feeling more comfortable. And it was like we both knew we could get in a truck and drive around logging roads and kill a bear, but we both wanted to do it in a different way. So the next day, we load up, we hop on the quad, we go way back to this far corner. I had a piece of intel that this one swamp, a buddy of mine who'd done a bunch of work in the area had tended to see bears in over the years. And so we go to this swamp and just literally I cold called with a predator call. And like 120 yards away, bear just stands up out of nowhere. And dude crushes him. Took a couple shots. Shit got a little Western, but like smokes this bear. Wasn't the biggest bear in the world, but it was the experience. It was like we had our ups, we had our downs. He was able to encounter that mental friction and find that balance between being dedicated without being like toxically obsessed. And we were in the right mind frame. And that's why we made the right decisions that led us to go kill this bear. And then fast forward 3 months later, I get this inReach message from him one morning. And he's like, just spent my first solo night in the backcountry.
Oh, fantastic.
And so moments like that, I'm like, that's what it's all like. Fuck the money and everything. Like, don't get me wrong. I like making a good living and providing for my wife and my kid. But to have moments like those with other men where it's like, I don't care what you're doing in the rest of your life. I get it. You love your family and all that kind of stuff. But as a man, to have those moments where you're facing those primal challenges and having to confront, like, who are you? Are you a man who crumbles under pressure and forgets to leave the safety on? Yeah, you are. Now, are you a man who's going to let that ruin him for the rest of the trip? Or are you the type of man who's able to come back from something like that and be better next time? And what was cool was like the second shooting experience was so much more stressful and he held it together. Like it was so, I couldn't have planned it any better because all the stuff that he was worried about from the first one, he got to confront 2 days later and then live up to that challenge. So when he left, he left completely fulfilled with a sense of accomplishment about the whole thing. And I think that was like second week or something. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe that this is what I get to do for a living now, is just hang out with dudes and have those types of experiences in the mountains.
Well, I think you bring a different approach than a lot of other guides to what you're doing. And that was one of the things that I was hoping would come across in that story is, I've gone on guided hunts where you just show up and the guide just does the stuff, right? And, you know, it's great, but if you're the person that kind of wants to learn and grow and take something away from the hunt more than just an animal, that was lacking on one of the ones that I did. And yeah, I'm sure that client was overly happy with the way that you were able to coach him through those moments and get him what he needed to feel comfortable to be out there by himself. So kudos, man.
So I think there's a whole new guided client.
Yeah.
I think if you go back 20 years ago, there was like guys who did guided hunts and guys who didn't. And most of the guys who did guided hunts were either from the east or the south. They had a lot of money. They didn't have access to public land. And then we didn't have the internet. So like figuring out what units, like it just wasn't an option. If you wanted to go out west and have a wilderness experience, you were going on a guided hunt. And when those people went on a guided hunt, they had a certain expectation, like certain opportunity rate, certain success and trophy class, and guides treated those clients in a particular way. And now I think there's this, I call them the hybrid guided client. And I know that because that was me. I was in my late 30s, early 40s. I had disposable income. I wanted to short circuit or shorten the learning curve to becoming a good hunter. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I go on guided hunts? They're supposed to be the experts. Every other pursuit I've ever had in my life, if I just surround myself with experts, I get better at it.
Yeah.
And then I went and I had like a very disappointing experience. And it was not through any fault of the guide. It was a mismatch between my expectations and what they were actually offering. They are not trainers, they are not coaches. Their job is to keep you safe and help you kill something. And 99% of the guides out there are very good at that. I think the problem is now in the market, there's a new client that's looking for something else. And maybe success rate isn't the most important thing for them, but coming home with a skill set that's going to allow them to go out. Like, my business model is almost flawed because I'm not looking for guys to be repeat hunters. Now, I get them, but that's not my goal. My goal is come hunt with me, learn something, and go hunt with yourself. Now, hopefully, you'll go tell a couple buddies so that I do have a recurring business model.
Yeah.
But it's vastly different from the old model where you want these guys coming back year after year. But I think, well, I know because it's proven out in the business model and just the amount of emails that I get, that it is a huge demographic in the hunting industry right now of these guys in that age group I discussed, in that income bracket I discussed, that are looking for a certain type of experience. And, before we hit record, we were talking about the transition that the guiding industry and the outfitting industry is going through right now.
Yep.
And I think there's outfitters that are going to get that, and there's outfitters that aren't. And I think, fast forward 10, 15 years, the ones who figure that out and are able to coach and train guides to deliver those types of experiences are going to be far more successful in the long run. But it's also a very challenging thing to do. Like, listen, man, I can go find some 25-year-old kid to sit beside you in the side by side while you go kill a bear. That is not the guy who is going to give you, the kind of depth of experience that you are looking to have. It's been very challenging to find people to come work with me that I feel comfortable can give guys that experience. So it's not like a very easily scalable business model, but I think I would rather do something meaningful at small scale than meaningless at large scale. I have no interest in being the McDonald's of outfitting.
Oh, that's fair. With that, what's next for Mindful Hunter Outfitter? I know you're a guy with big plans. I know you don't think small. What can you share with everybody listening of where you're going? What do you got open? Maybe and what to keep an eye on coming out?
So it's kind of funny because with my apparel brand, people are always like, what product are you going to launch next? And
Hmm.
my answer is always, when I see a hole in the market that I can develop a unique solution for that I don't see anybody else developing, I'll develop it. Socks are launching mid-April because I've been wearing socks in the mountains for 30 years and I'm still not happy with any of them. So I went and built my own. And I think outfitting is the same. I still have a long way to go in order to be reliably providing the level of customer satisfaction and the depth of experiences that I want to provide. But I also have an eye on the future. And there are experiences people are wanting to have right now that I don't have the ability to give them because those animals don't exist in my territory or that type of topography doesn't exist in my territory. So I'm always looking at branching out. If I had a business model that I am looking to execute on over the next 10 years, it would be bring in a number two. I have two guys that I'm kind of working with closely right now. It's very challenging to find the guy who's the right age, has the right home situation where he's allowed to spend that much time away. His kids are the right age, so it's okay. He has the right hunting experience, but it's bring on that number two. It's spend 2 to 3 years with him so that he understands what the mindful hunting outfitting experience is. And he can reliably give that to people and he can teach other people how to give that too. And then, as we were mentioning earlier in the podcast, there's a lot of dudes who are retiring in this industry, and there's outfitting areas coming up for sale all the time. And I am in no rush whatsoever to go buy more of them. But let's take moose for example. People
Yeah,
call me for moose hunts all the time. I would like the ability to provide moose hunts for people where I know they're going to have the type of experience that I think they should be having on a BC moose hunting experience. I would love to get one of these guys to the point where it's like, okay, let's go find you an area. It will be a mindful hunter outfitting area. We will finance it together. You will be a joint owner, and the mindful hunter ecosystem will still feed clients into that area, but it will be the kind of the same classic experience that everybody's come to expect from the current mindful hunter outfitting, but is there a new type of area that we like? Maybe the next one's even more rugged or more isolated. Maybe you got to fly in or take horses to get to the next one, or maybe there's big float area we could buy for moose. So if I have like a 5 or 10 year vision, I would love 10 years from now to have maybe 3 different areas in BC that all had the ability to deliver different types of hunting experiences with different animals, but we were still high touch enough that people were reliably having like once in a lifetime experiences every time they came to hunt with us.
that's beauty, man. One of the things that I find so addictive with hunting is that there's a million once in a lifetime experiences.
Yeah.
Every animal, every different way of hunting, different, um, I was going to say weapon, but we'll call it tool choices. It's so many different avenues to go down. I'm excited to see where Mindful Hunter Outfitting ends up. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you want to kind of throw out before we wrap things up?
There's still a couple last minute openings this year. I've got 3 spots for bear and 2 spots for archery mule deer. My BC mule deer is sold out. My BC goat is sold out. But if anybody wants, is looking for a spring bear hunt, jay@mindfulhunter.com. Or if they're looking for a fall archery mule deer hunt in Alberta, jay@mindfulhunter.com. I'm always happy to get on the phone and chat. I know there's a bunch of tire kickers in this industry, and that's just part of the game. So don't hesitate, to reach out if you ever want any more information about what I do or what I offer. I'm still in the process of building my website. I'm hoping to have it done by summer because I know that will help a lot of people because lots of times they're just looking for pictures or information. But I wanted to wait until my first full season was done. So I was launching my website with all my own pictures in my own territory with my own clients. And so that's under development right now. I'm super excited. That should be launched in a few months. But yeah, if anybody wants to come hunt, give me a shout. And there's always lots of content. So if there's anything I can help people with, I'm always more than willing.
Love it, man. Thanks so much for coming on tonight, Jay. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Let's Go Guided. If you enjoyed it, make sure you follow along and share it with someone who's planning their next hunt. See you on the next one.